right. Live, I hope. I'm figuring out the new system more and more, but as you get stagnant and you stop using stuff, you get really bad at it. But I wanted to jump on for maybe 10, 15 minutes and talk about the hidden opportunity that lies with what we're up against. So, if you're in the community, you've been seeing all the updates and things happening this week. In last week, $62 billion now by the World Bank, IMF, given to this current economic situation. Last night, Trump got on and talked about some key points that I think are very significant for what they're expecting and the fallout they're expecting from all of this. So yes, if you're just tuning in, you guessed it. This will mostly be an economic update. And if you're not subscribed already, then you need to be. It's empirealerts.substack.com. It is free, and then there's a paid option. The paid option, you get an email every single day, and free, you don't. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of panic going on right now. This kind of reminds me of like after BitConnect fell, and I jumped on that live stream that day. So 27% dip in Bitcoin, which most people, micro traders and low time frame traders probably didn't see. High time frame traders did see. I didn't see it. I got liquidated on my positions last night too, which was awful to wake up to. But it's just how it goes sometimes. So that's the game that you choose to play when you're trading, right? No, we're not all going to die. I know that that's probably hyperbolic that somebody said that in the chat, but it's not going to get that bad. So it's really interesting to me that, first off, let's start at the very beginning, is if you have a plan, then you usually feel safe and secure. If you have a plan with your portfolio, then the woes of the day usually don't bother you. Now, obviously, a 23% dip now, collectively, since this whole thing started, I believe. Yeah, 23.81. Let's pull this up. So let me bring this up for you guys. Collectively, a 23% dip is bad. Right as Trump is tweeting at the top here, all-time highs. We are welcome on your 401ks, best stock market in history. Yeah, okay, really, really bad timing. And that's funny, but if you've been in a market long enough, or, you started in crypto with us and now are pivoting into other things, then you know that, yes, this is how it goes. When everyone's in the euphoria stage, that's exactly when you get the the rug pull. And we got that right after that, okay? The coronavirus could easily be chalked up as a black swan event. I probably shouldn't be saying that, so I'll cut that out because this video might even get yanked or pulled down. The censorship algorithms are in full effect for just even mentioning it, let alone talking about anything about it. So we should probably not talk about any of the origins of it or anything like that. But yeah, so you see crypto was 23%, and now collectively stock market has been 23%, with today being, I think, 4.73 or 4.8% so far in pre-market. We're about to open up. Right now is the time that we've seen before. And this is what I want you to really understand and remember, because it's really easy to forget it when it looks like this. It's really easy to get hooked into the panic too. The panic almost acts like a drug, doesn't it? And you start to kind of read these certain threads on social media, and before you know it, you think, just like everybody else thinks, that the world's going to end. Everyone's going to die. And that is a really, really bleak, awful viewpoint to hold at any point. All right, let's just leave that thread alone. But so right now, everyone is thinking that it's going to get worse and worse and worse, right? Everything's going to go to zero. When have we heard this before? Well, in crypto, we heard this in 2018, 2019 bear market, right? In the traditional markets, we saw this in 2008, didn't we? I mean, come on, most of you guys have been around long enough, right? You guys have seen 2008, 2009. We can't forget. We can't afford to forget the lessons learned then. And if you're old enough, you remember 2000. Remember, none of the computers will be able to roll over to 2001, Y2K, the whole thing. Oh my God, but the stock market's running on computers now and everything's going to crash. Remember? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing as back then. I actually wasn't expecting this to happen at all. And even up until I saw this relief bounce here, minor relief bounce, I thought this is still like manageable, right? And so take defensive measures here, and now you're in full defensive mode, right? Cash, metals, bonds, in that order, by the way. And yeah, I mean, you probably would have started that back here, but now it's full on. And depending on when you got your positions, you're still okay. Like if you got your positions picked up in 2018 in that dip, you're still okay, right? We're right here, yeah. So 2018 dip hit right here. And what was going on back then? We had government shutdown. We had still all the uncertainty, right? Trump's going to kill us all. He's going to lead us to war, which I mean we've done pretty well considering. We haven't been blown up. We haven't gone to war, right? But yeah, this is extremely bad. And even though I'm sitting here saying it's not as bad as that, your profits would be completely destroyed if you entered in back then. But the same thing, my bigger point here is the same thing was being said back then. Stock market's going to zero. All the armchair analysts and all the fake blue check marks on social medias. Oh, I was right. I told you so. You know, expansionary markets can't go on for this long. We need to bail out on the dollar and go back to the gold back standard and the gold reserve policies, right? What are they saying today? The same shit, right? They're saying literally the same thing. Oh, I told you so. It's all going to zero. The Fed is a scam. The dollar's a scam. Fiat's a scam. Well, okay, if you want to be fair, the whole fucking thing is a scam. Life itself is a scam. Okay, so where does it end then? What do we just sit around and cry about it? I guess you have to decide if you're going to play the game or not. And that you have to decide for yourself. And so institutions right now, whales, big money, they are looking at entry positions on Bitcoin, on all the markets, because that's what they do. Warren Buffett said it best. When there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy. I hacked that up, but it's something like that. That's when you look to enter the market. He was sitting on a record high amount of cash, $126 billion he was sitting on. I guarantee you, the next time we check in with that number, it's going to be significantly less because he has been investing. He has been putting that cash to work. And I don't know if today will be the worst of the stock market. I actually thought Monday would be, but then seeing the speech last night, it is natural that we see this today. So as soon as the U.S. says, "Oh, we're going to shut down Europe," we expect today, and I think it's going to get worse in the standpoint that I think it would make more sense if they got super aggressive right now and just shut everything down for like a week or two, and then let's see where let's let it shake itself out. I don't know if they'll do that, but I see that happening before I see this just like poof, lifting up and disappearing, right? I mean, we can look at data of how pandemic spread and the rate of infection spread, and I think those numbers are pretty blown out. I don't think it's going to get that bad because we've also seen the fastest response ever from the FDA and the CDC, which are really the biggest bottlenecks right now in the United States anyways, for getting a phase 1, phase 2 trial done and then out to the public. So that should happen really, really quickly. They're already through phase 1 from what they were just saying the other day, the NIH. So yeah, back to my core point though, because there's so much to get lost in a day like this. There's so much to get lost in with this data, is that, while most people are worrying about booking cheap flights and toilet paper, buying toilet paper, standing in line all day long, you have smart people who always have a plan, but definitely had a plan for today. You see them stocking up on stocks, stocking up on position sizing, starting to get their plan or their entry points of where they want to enter back in, right? And if we do see numbers bottoming out, what is this? What did we actually hit on this bottom? 23.44. I mean, fuck, dude. You should be entering at that. And starting to accumulate because they're playing the longer ball. Look at this is a 2-year span. Well, a year and some change span, but this is actually a short duration for such a strong pullback. If we go back in time, and if you've watched my previous videos, the 100-year Dow chart and all these other charts that I have that are just a massive mapping, you'll see that even though there's the 10, 13, 30% dips, like in a Great Depression was over a 30% dip, Great Financial Crisis was 30% dip, outside of those, and now we're about to hit a 30% dip again for a Black Swan Corona, is outside of that, like the stock market goes up. since the beginning of time, with the pullbacks, the stock market goes up, which is really odd to me that there's so many analysts, let's call them, that say that the whole thing's going to go to zero. It's never gone to zero. In the history of the stock market over the last couple hundred years, it's continually gone up over the long term. And that's the game you have to play. Now, there's also another game that you can play, micro macro, right? You can just play low time frame trading as well, or shorter positions, swing trading, which so many names for so much nonsense. Is just decide what you want to play. Do you want to babysit the markets? And it's based on goal. What game do I want to play based on my goal? Do I want to babysit the markets or not? Most people, it's no. Come on. So if you don't want to babysit the markets, then you plan for a longer, longer position, a longer play, right? So, yeah, it's very interesting. What's happening. I think overall, if you look at just like the broad scheme of the planet and humanity and where we're going, and all the NASA missions that are mapped out and planned, and all the SpaceX stuff that's planned, and Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin and all of that, we're in great shape. And we're actually getting ready to make like the biggest jump of wealth, the biggest transfer of wealth. We thought we had it before, which it did. It did happen. Great financial crisis. We saw a little bit of it happen in 2018. Right now, we're going to see it happening again. Like, we are literally watching history unfold right now. And it's so easy to forget that because we have the pain. We have the pain of 2008. So when you have a big trauma point like that, you notice how you tend to avoid the shit? Because God forbid we don't want to go into the closet and look at all the bad shit and the skeletons. We would much rather just kind of like pretend like that didn't happen, bury that shit deep down inside in a black box and never open it again. But just understand, if we do that, then when it comes time to like look at this market and focus on this market, all we're seeing is pain. All we're seeing is bloodshed. So how am I going to get a clear, unbiased viewpoint on if I should enter back into this market or not? That's literally impossible. I could never do that. And that's the part that, like, it sucks to sit here and say that dumb money will be dumb money, retail money will always be retail, sheep will be sheep. I don't like those descriptors. I don't like talking like that. But sometimes you do have to be dramatic and hyperbolic to get people to pay attention, right? Because right now, I mean, if I, myself, and every YouTuber on the platform were to get live right now and be talking about the same shit, about how, don't forget what you learned before, and, the greatest transfer of wealth is going to be happening during this next 5 years with the Space Race 2.0 happening, and there would still be the same behavior. That's what's utterly fascinating about this, is this, what you see in front of you, these markets are made of people. This price action is dictated by people. People are price, price is people. That's it. That's all you need to know. So while you might have a plan and you might be super smart and you might have it all figured out, the rest of the world doesn't. And they are the ones that are driving this market. Market makers make up so much, whales make up so much, institutions make up so much, and then there's retail. Right? And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully the people that are sticking around, if you haven't gotten it already, if you didn't learn from 2001 and 2008 and 2017 crypto markets, then, now's the time to learn. Today's the time to learn. But yeah, now is not the time to stock up on supplies. You should have already been stocked up. I mean, and that should be basic stuff. And this used to be like conspiracy theory, crazy prepper talk, but now it's just basic realities. And it makes sense because look at the overall population on the planet. We're not overly populated. I don't care what anyone says. Everyone on the planet, I believe this is still true, but it's something like everyone on the planet will still fit inside the state of Texas, or a little bit beyond the state of Texas. Go ahead, you can search that out. I believe that's still true, within like 1 or 2% variable. But, no matter what all the hysteria is saying, we're not overpopulated yet. But the grid and the system is very old. And the grid and the system that every country is operating off of is dated, needs upgrades, and has been failed to be upgraded up until this point. So it's not such a crazy thought to think like power could go out. I need water. So you should have like staples and standards built in for you, for your family. You should have a set of rules, a set of standards that the family operates off of, a family plan that you can fall back on when stuff like this hits. So even if you were to get completely irrational right now and panic, you'd be able to fall back on the plan. And is this not true for trading? Whether you're a day trader, a position trader, long-term investor, is if we have to have the plan. We have to know clearly what we want to enter and exit. Not having an exit, I think, is fine, but knowing where you want to enter and what the overall plan is at a bird's eye view, you need, because what happens on days like this? If you don't have a plan, you just sold the bottom. Maybe not the bottom, but within a small percentage of the bottom, you just sold that. You just panic sold and hit literally the worst losses you'll have. But if you have a plan to fall back on, it's like that little voice inside your head, that little voice of logic that you're able to fall back on. And all of this should be basics. Unfortunately, it's not. And that's okay. But you see, life continues to suck unless we learn from it. And we need to continually learn from our mistakes. Growth is inevitable. Change is inevitable. There's no hiding from that. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't give a fuck if you like that or not. It doesn't care. It's completely indifferent to your and my feelings about it. So it's like, then it turns into, okay, well, I can't argue with this because it's not changing. So what's the best way to win? Plan. Goals. I mean, shit, dude. It's the basic stuff. It's the basic stuff. Yeah, unless your funds can get stuck, and we're experiencing that today because the crypto market was completely and utterly nuked. The slippage rate was insane, and I haven't looked at heat maps, but you can track heat maps on TensorCharts. Is a great place to go, by the way, if you didn't know. Let me shut off all my blocks here. But yeah, oh, it's down. Oh, that's interesting. It's down. Fuck. Oh, there it is. Okay. It must have just been because my block is on. But yeah, this is a great place to look for order volume. Okay, so I got a little bit of delay, so let's let that load so you can see it. But anyways, tensorcharts.com. Great resource. There's others like it, but let me go through the chat now. Okay, let me jump through this. Okay, so fighting the FOMO feeling. Gonna be good. Okay, good luck to everyone. Yeah. Do I anticipate a rebound anytime soon? Well, I thought the worst was going to be Monday for traditional markets, and the crypto markets. I wasn't paying attention to the larger charts, but it hit and nailed exactly as it should have on if I was paying attention to 2-week and 3-week charts. So on the 2-week and 3-week charts, you see that it was making lower highs. So lower highs over the last 2 years up until today. So what I expect is that will range somewhere in the 4,500 range all the way up to 6,000s. And I don't know how short or long that'll last, but that's my estimate here. Now, there's two thoughts here. Is the halving priced in or not? And I tend to think it is. But we saw with Litecoin that we saw, I can't remember actually when. I want to say it was either a couple weeks or even up to a month. But that's what I would suggest you to do. So if you want to see like what are the odds of it being priced in or not, look deeper into the data of not only previous halvings and what the price action was leading up to it. And again, I would almost dismiss the first one completely. I would look at just the second one, and that's all you've got to look at for Bitcoin. And then for Litecoin and any other coin that's had I think that's it, just Litecoin, you can look at halving periods, and you can get a decent idea of what history has done there to give you a general idea of maybe what we can expect. Again, I tend to think it's priced in, so that's not working. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Let's go back to this. I tend to think it's priced in. How long we range in this period, it reminds me of January 2019 when you saw the initial final shakeout. It ranged a little bit, and then bang, it started the ascent up. This does ruin, essentially, and destroy the gold fractal that many people were operating off of on different time frames, looking at that. And I think we still hold above some of the larger lines. I don't know. I haven't really looked because I've been trying to put out content all morning for everybody. Where did I have that? Was that this or was that Bitstamp? Yeah, we're still floating above that. We dipped down below it. Yeah, see this? See this really long line that goes back forever. Yeah, it's still floating above that. 58. Yeah, 5884 key level. That I've tagged. Where did we bounce? We dipped below that. We hit 56. I think it was 56 something. Was the worst of it on some of the exchanges. But yeah, anyways, 5884 key level that I've tagged. Yeah. Okay, so anyways, let's get back on track here. Opportunities. Okay, right now, and I'll say this again, good amount of viewers, so thank you for tuning in. Right now, everyone is scared. Everyone is panicking, right? End of the world is coming. All they're focused on is, oh my God, it's all going to come to an end. This is how it goes, right? This is how it ends. Like, really dire. I think a lot of people are getting into some really dire states. Just look at Twitter. But there's a big caveat here. In every situation, there's opportunity and there's tragedy. This is how it goes. You just got to learn to accept the tragedy aspect of it and make a commitment to yourself, make a new rule that you will thrive in these situations. Not off the backs of other people, but you will thrive because you decide to not focus on that, but focus on the opportunity. Focus on what positives can come out of this. Obviously, positives that can come out of this is the market goes back up. Okay? And now, again, to combat the people that say, oh, well, what if this is the big one and it goes down to zero? No. No, it never has. Oops. Let's see. Let me see if I can dig this up. Is this, Nope. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Here's my 100-year chart. Wow, there's quite a delay. So hold on a sec. We'll let this come up. Here's my 100-year chart. Haven't updated it with past the 12:30 Corona stuff as it broke. Anyways, give this a second, guys. But yeah, market goes up. Yeah, look, there it is. All right, so now I can do this. Look at this. Market does nothing but go up. Oh, we're on a 1 week. Let's go on to a 1 month. I have this published for free on my TradingView if you do want to follow it. There's a ton of annotations and bullshit on it, but it's just like everything is tracked. Presidential times are tracked. And then I started overlaying recently demographic data, so baby boomer data and stuff. I don't think it's on this one. I think it's on a different one. But if you're a premium member, I've been going over that in depth. And just how we're actually hitting like the generational gap where baby boomers become the biggest strain on society, which happens with every big generation. And millennials are actually getting into the phase of prime working years, prime time, where they're in their late 20s to middle 30s, and they're contributing the most to society. So we're in that right now. We're just hitting that. We've got all the space stuff happening. Like, there is no way that the markets can't go up. I don't know when. I don't think that matters. That's not as significant of like getting the perfect entry. That's another like masturbatory thing that I noticed in crypto really, really bad, but it's in most markets. It's like, man, I got a knife catch. I got to catch the absolute bottom and get the best price. Well, not really. If we're trying to hold this for like the next 10 or 20 years, then, I mean, we can get within a couple $100, can't we? Or with crypto, even a couple thousand, I would argue. And if your thesis is that crypto is going to go up to $140,000 to $150,000, if you've been following the 4-year cycle that a few people are talking about and presenting, I've been tracking it as well. If you think that the upside potential is $140,000 to $250,000 on Bitcoin, does it really matter if you get in at 6,000 or 7,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, right? Like, what's the big deal? So anyways, but look, okay, so here we go. This is the oldest data that you can get, 1872. What is this fucking market doing? And we have the establishment of the Fed happening right here. Black Tuesday, right? What was that, 77% drawdown? I've got all the worst economic collapses tagged out as well. But anyways, so yeah, over time, it has consistently gone up. Look, we got pullbacks, we got drawdowns, always. But in the end, and this chart looks really crazy like this, but in the end, the market is going up. Now, the only reason why you could feel somewhat safe in believing that, unless the stock market were to go away, which I don't think it will, because even once we go into space, I've talked about this, there will be some sort of intergalactic market, but there will also be little old US and planet Earth markets. But then there will be a bigger intergalactic market. There has to be a means of trade. between either humans on planet A and planet B, within subspecies, within all of it, right, has to still operate. There will always be a means and a system of barter and trade. So that will continue to happen. Yeah, I mean, so we can assume that there will be a time to buy in, which it looks like it's happening this week. It looks like, I think this week will be the worst of it. And what I would suggest, and I don't know, obviously I'm not a politician. I don't know what other variables and factors I'm missing. But the way I like to do things is, like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Even though now, from literally science standpoint, we know that ripping the Band-Aid off is the worst thing you could do, especially for a burn victim. A slow pull is way better. But with something like this, I'd rather see like the market panic and get it all out, and then let's get back on track, right? And yeah, so why is the market falling today? Europe was shut down. That's why. Travel between the U.S. and Europe. And immediately, I don't know why, but everyone just assumed that meant like everything, like trade and animals and people and everything. So clearly there was some confusion because VP Mike Pence was just live on Fox like 45 minutes ago talking about and clarifying like what the fuck they meant, because people missed the point. So anyways, yeah, shorts, if you're in a short in stock market, I mean, you probably would have already been TPing, taking profit, but today is a great day to take some profit too, and as long as you've taken enough profit that your original position size is covered and the rest is just kind of, let's say, letting it riding on house money, however you want to say it, you're in good shape. You're in really, really good shape. I know a couple of people who did absolutely crush Bitcoin yesterday. They were already short from the 9,000s, absolutely crushed it. I mean, we're talking like 6,000 to 10,000% on a cross position on BitMEX. So I mean, they cleaned up. I don't even know what, depending on the position size. I mean, you could be 500,000, 5 mil, 100. You could be sitting really, really good right now. I was not. I had some skunk orders that I forgot about in the low 7s and high 6s. They got filled, and because it was like the Hail Mary positions that I was looking at, they were too big, so risk management was wrong, and I didn't have stops, and I got liquidated. So that's how it goes, right? Made 10K today. Congratulations. That's epic. That's really, really good. Yeah, I mean, the toilet paper thing, I've talked about this a lot, but let's just clarify that because somebody asked it in the chat. Like, you could just use your hand. I know in America that's like, oh my God, that's disgusting, Jay. But like in Asia, they do that. They got a Badoo, or what is that? Badoo? Badao? Whatever it is. But water, they shoot water up there. They wipe it with their hand and then they wash their hands. So the hand acts as the toilet paper because they don't really use toilet paper in a lot of Asian countries. So, call me crazy, but you can do that. Most of us, you're pooing at the house. You got a bathtub or a shower right next to the thing, right? You just bar soap. I mean, come on. It's not that life-changing of a thing. Fucking, I'd rather have water, okay? I'd rather have water and a shitload of rice and a shitload of food or whatever, right? All right, let's catch up on the chat. Appreciate all you tuning in. Quick yes in the chat if you're getting value. Are you feeling something different? Are you walking away with something different right now at this point in the live stream than when you entered in? Yes or no? Just yes or no in the chat. All right, gotta meet a client. Cool, Dan. Good luck. Be safe out there. Yeah, I think there's local preppers in everyone's area. You get a huge benefit if you're like in a kind of military town and things like that. Because those guys will know what to do. They'll be able to they'll have extra ammunition and rifles and things like that. And if things ever got that crazy, then you know that the good old boys would help you out and probably supply you with a weapon. And if you can't shoot, then show you how to shoot. So yeah, I don't think it'd ever get that bad. And there's enough like good old boy towns around America still that I think most people would be just fine. I think prepping stuff is kind of turned into like, it's no longer like this option, and it's no longer like this theory that's so far-fetched that, oh my God, that'll never happen. I think that's just comfort that people are being naive and oblivious towards now potential realities. You know, the grid is overloaded, and it's not because the planet's overpopulated, but because the grid is overpopulated. So we will continue to have issues like this, which we're not facing those issues yet, but trust me, those issues could happen. This event could have been viral just as much as it could have been power infrastructure grid based. Okay. All right, let's see. Fighting the FOMO feeling, yes. So glad you had this live chat, helping a lot of people. Yep. Okay. Yep. Lots of positive here. Thank you. Yep. Okay. Doing fine soon. All right. Great. Yeah. I mean, I love this chart. Like, I could just look at this chart all fucking day long. And the reason why is because it's really easy to get perspective is so important and so valuable, and it's so easy to like, no, Jay, you don't understand. This is my problem. Hyper focus on the problem. And it's not even like we do that on purpose, but it's just so many of the defaults that get like wrapped up in the drama and wrapped up in what we think is important and how we think we should behave and how we think we should be focusing, that we kind of like miss this. We miss the whole big picture of this, all the events. And this isn't all the events over the history of man here, but it's a shitload of the big ones that mattered all the way back. And I'm constantly adding to this because like this is my big picture perspective piece. And you see like some of this stuff goes all the way up. This is mine. And the reason why I have this in purple over here is because this is all the space race stuff. So let's go down to a smaller time frame. And let's remember some truth. Let's remember some stuff going on. And okay, so this is the stuff that I always forget. I didn't tag it either, but I forget the granular details. And I've wrote about this in a 2020 Trends Report, which is free on empireresearch.net. It is insanely large. What we wrote there, it took me a really long time to gather that together. But, there's like 40-something NASA missions, and the Space Race 2.0 video that I link in the 2020 Trends Report has all the actual data in it. There's going to be X amount, 100 Raptor engines built by 2020. That might be slowed down by supply chain issues right now. That's probably another thing we could quickly talk about is supply chain issues. And really, to take the opportunity talk a little bit further, let's talk about that in just a second. But NASA, human landing on moon again by 2024, moon bases by 2028. Yeah, they've got, I want to say like 38 or 42 missions planned over not even the next 10 years. So NASA's back in the game in a big way. You got 3 private organizations by 3 of the richest people on the fucking planet. Yeah. Okay, so opportunity. That's the place that you look, right? The way that you really figure this out is because it's like, okay, Jay, all that sounds good, but like how exactly, specifically? Well, where are supply chain breaks happening right now? Okay, now maybe you can't get in there quick enough. An example of this would be, I've seen it, this is happening in Asia right now, but dust masks and different 3M masks and face masks are selling for multiples of 100x right now. And they were up until the government stepped in and basically said, hey, stop it. And so they had to peel the prices back. So now they're still inflated by 3x, but that's not awful. Like masks were selling for so much in some Asian countries like Indonesia, Taiwan, Thailand, Cambodia, fucking Japan. Okay, so where are the breaks in the supply chain? Where are the issues going to be after this? So I started talking about this and I got derailed in my own thoughts here in the very beginning of the stream, but Trump is he's proposed a payroll tax cut for the rest of the year for employers and employees. Well, clearly that doesn't mean shit for everyone if they were to lock down the country right now and everyone's sitting at home. But where it has the biggest effect is what happens after that. So clearly they want to ensure that the fallout from this is massively shored up against. 2 big measures that they rolled out. They rolled out the payroll tax cut idea, which we'll go through. And they rolled out the plans that, I don't know if you caught it, that the SBA is going to work with the government. Where are we at? Here's the video. It was sent out. This was a free email today. So if you go to empirealerts.substack.com, you'll see this. The second one was that the government's going to work with the SBA to, I don't know how or why, but he kind of like his voice like cracked a little bit and you couldn't hear it. $50 billion to the SBA program for any business that is negatively affected by the coronavirus. Now, here's my first question is, how the fuck are you going to be able to tell if I was negatively affected outside of me saying I was? I don't know what kind of paper trail they're going to ask for or proof that they're going to ask for that issues occurred in your business because corona. But chances are there's going to be a long line of people to get this money because it's cheap money. It's going to be at record low interest rates, and there's already some other measures being floated around about forgiveness programs and, you know, chopping down interest rates, which were pretty high. Standard credit card rate was at like 17.9%. So I have a feeling that we're going to see another big rate cut happen and a leniency happen, which we've never, I don't think, seen in the history of mankind. You know, in Italy, 60 million people live there. 60 million mortgages just got suspended 2 days ago. That's fucking insane. That's never happened before. So I think that this is gonna be the tail end of the cheap money, the cheapest money in 5,000 years. There's a chart. I don't know where I've got it, but there's a chart that actually shows this from all the way back, like the longest tracking, 5,000 years. This is the lowest rates we've ever seen. I think it's gonna end. I think it's gonna end. So I think we're gonna see, like, through the rest of this year into quarter four, it's gonna be all the crazy forgiveness programs and extreme leniency, so that it ensures that the market rebounds quicker. Average recession outside of the Great Depression lasts 4 months only. So that puts us, you know, in good shape depending on when we finish this. Quarter four, and even Goldman, I think, is predicting this now too. They're predicting by quarter four into quarter one of 2021, a 11 to 12% jump in everything. And so, yeah, that's very plausible with the aggressive measures being taken. Now, ask yourself, next common question would be, well, did this happen in 2008? Like, what were the dramatic measures? Well, in 2008 is when they started quantitative easing for the very first time. Ben Bernanke, your best bud, okay? With the fatherly beard. You know, I think he wore the beard on purpose because he kind of looked like your uncle, or like your dad's best friend that you could trust. Fucking guy. You could not trust him, okay? He rolled out QE1, which is basically just quantitative easing is printing money. Quantitative tightening is burning money. Well, not technically burning it, but that's the simplest way to understand it. And so that was started then. But if we look at what we're doing right now, between the repo markets, let's get a quick pulse and check in on the repo markets. Oh yeah, they extended from 100 billion overnight term to 150 billion acceptance amount overnight, and their term repos, I think they changed from 23 billion to they'll go up to 50 billion. And that's been happening since September, with now the change just happening this week, the increase. So we've already had a repo market bailout that's been occurring since fucking September of last year. And that actually was a very early indicator. Nobody could have saw that this was that a black swan was going to happen like this, but something was going to happen. Something was going to happen, and it did. So, yeah, we've got way more aggressive measures, is my point, this time around. Payroll tax cut, I don't know if that's ever happened. You tell me in the chat. Maybe I haven't dug super deep, but I don't think this has ever happened, like a payroll tax cut for fucking whatever, however long it's going to be, 8 months. Right? So that's pretty aggressive. And that tells me that they're expecting not the disease to get bad, or the illness, virus, whatever you want to call it, but the fallout to be bad. So they're already trying to aggressively hedge against that. We have a proposed extension on to April 15th for taxes this year. Well, that's going to free up $200 billion that they can play around with between now and then, which they might need. So they're taking very aggressive matters, and I know that it's not popular to say that, because it's really popular to say, "Oh, Orange Man bad, he sucks, he's the worst president in history." But sorry, I'm not saying that. Yeah, here's some of the data that we shared yesterday. Anyways, this was a premium email. This today was free. Back to the chart. So, got sidetracked once again. What comes next? What comes after this? How can I insert myself into the supply chain, into breaks that are going to happen from the fallout? What is the fallout? Sit down with yourself. Make a list. What is the fallout going to be? How can I insert myself? What are my skills, my talents, and what value could I provide to insert myself? And maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just simply like, hey, I got the balls to buy stocks. Nobody else does. There you go. That's how you can make money. But the thing is the next overwhelm point will be that there's so many areas to make money. There'll be so many things to make money on that people will be like, their heads will be spinning that way because they don't know what to do with themselves. Because it'll be like right now with just the proposed tax cut and the SBA money, they might as well be in a fucking helicopter, guys. They might as well be in a helicopter just dropping it. And every bank on the planet and central bank on the planet has said that that's never out of the question. That's always an option that's on the table if economic stimulus is required. That they would just literally get in a helicopter and drop it out. Taxes are a double-ended sword. There's a guy, I think, for like 30 years who's got a I think it's 30 years, and he's got a $300,000 bounty if you can prove anywhere in the law, constitution, amendments, legal system that taxes that we're supposed to pay taxes. Nobody's ever taken him up on it, but okay, yeah. Thank you guys for showing up. Really appreciate it. So, a lot of people, this is the voice of reason. Hopefully, this is the voice that you're maybe trying to get to in your head, but you just can't because there's so much other noise, there's so much other bullshit, and that I think is part of the game right now. And that is why it is so important to have a routine for yourself, have a morning routine, have a way that you do things every single day that is putting you in a place of power. When you can win your morning, when you can win first thing in the day, it's so much harder for CNN to get through your brain, to bypass your critical factors in the brain and tell you that actually everything fucking sucks. It's so much harder for that to occur when you win your morning, when you take it back, when you're constantly willing to push physically, mentally, right? It makes it very hard for people to get in there. And that's what you need. Like, what's one of the most important things I see right now is people need boundaries, man. People need to retake their energy and set clear, like, energetic and everything and physical boundaries with people in terms of what they're allowing from the other person. Like, I wish more people, like, somebody comes at them and they're talking like the dumbest bullshit, and everyone knows it's bullshit, but they just sit there and take it. And just in their mind, they're saying, God, this guy is so full of it, man. Why am I listening to this? Just tell the guy to shut the fuck up and exit the conversation. Like, why subject yourself to that? Because the minute that you sit there long enough, you're actually kind of giving like a head nod that this guy is legitimate, that this guy knows what he's talking about, and that this guy should be liked and trusted. So then the next guy comes up and he's like, well, Jay's listened to him, so maybe this guy knows something. And because I'm not leaving, and, maybe I'm shaking my head every once in a while, and this kind of silent nod of approval, I'm now giving this guy validation. I'm now giving this shitty idea, this fear, this panic, this bullshit validation. Why? That's what we need. That's another thing we need to change. Not the thing. Another thing to change. And you can't do that. You can't see that until you take your personal power back. And like flailing around, letting the river take you in the markets and the opinions and scrounging for Telegram groups to like try and suit your bias of like, oh fuck, am I right? Is not going to do it. It's not going to do the trick, guys. Good sleep, good habits, good routines. The basics. Once again, we come back to the basics. All right, let's see. Not fun. Yeah. Fuck, man. That's a serious audit there. 1.5 mil from Bitcoin. Yeah. I assume at some point. I just assume I'll get audited at some point from the whole crypto thing. Because I still, walked away, went from 10 to 100, so. I don't know. I'm not really paying attention. There might be some small relief rallies pop up in Bitcoin, but yeah. Again, that's another misconception. I don't care how many times you got a guy who's not grounded, doesn't have a trade plan. He's seen this happen. He just thinks that, oh my God, it dumped. Now it's going to just go right back up. Okay, let's go right back up 15 minutes. Is that good for you? Yeah, it works for me. It's like, it don't work like that. And a lot of times you do see a small relief bounce, but rarely do you ever see literally the thing take a complete and utter shit and then just go right back up. You probably count that in every market across the history of time on one hand. Usually it's like a relief and then more ranging and relief, because what just happened? Well, what just happened was we saw a strong rejection, a strong sell-off. And so the supply and demand equation has been altered. And so now we have to, it's almost impossible not to, enter into what's called a price discovery phase. Price discovery might last 15 minutes, it might last 15 years. But the price needs to refine itself. And the supply demand needs to kind of like snap back and get back to kind of catch up to itself. And then, okay, we build momentum, and what happens? We break up. Yeah? Or, in terms of panic and in terms of a depressionary state, you just see it further break down. Breakdown. And the indicators will, again, be the same indicators. Higher highs, lower lows. And higher highs, you know what I mean. I don't even want to try and tackle that one because my brain is moving so fast, I'm just going to fuck it up for the next 5 minutes. But yeah, so we want to see, is this making a trend up, or is this continuing to show that it can't break through and break down? And I think I've talked about higher highs, lower lows, higher lows, lower highs in previous videos. I just don't know which ones. Maybe I'm due up for a fresh video about that. You know, who knows? All right. So what else do we got? Let's catch up on this chat here. Soda cleared the aisle. Okay. Yeah. I mean, clearing the aisles for soda. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. Fucking water. You want something with some flavor? Buy a bunch of tubs of branched chain amino acids, which will help your body break down proteins, fats, lipids, recover better, and it's got some taste to it. There you go. $30 lasts you a month or two. $60 lasts you about 60 days. Protein powder. You want one of the easiest prepping things. Protein powder. Usually, the shelf life of that is like 2 years. You can get some non-milk based and whatever specialty shit. Even more. All right, cool. Questions before I wrap this up. I was gonna do 15 minutes, 47 minutes in. Busy day for me. A lot of people still ask me, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Building businesses in the real world. Okay. Because I if I'm gonna level with you, I had massive troubles. I've had massive both mental resistance and struggles with building a lot of what I was pushing for online. So when that happens, you need help. And so if you can't get help quick enough, then it's time to divert your focus to things that do work. Right now, there's at least one thing in your life that's working extremely well. And you're probably avoiding that because you're focused on all the things that aren't working well. Well, sometimes it's time to kind of push that off to the side and focus on what is working well. And it just so happened to be the offline stuff for me. Yeah. So expansion and contraction works like that in markets. So if you're working like you're looking at the lower time frames and you're seeing it just kind of like bunch up. A Bollinger Band is a really easy one to see. You start to see it compress. Well, what needs to happen after it compresses? Well, the longer it stays compressed over time, it needs to expand. Expand, contract, expand, contract. That's another basic way that's used in the mechanical world that also applies to markets. So you see how markets really are a very fluid and dynamic thing. Yeah, and you can take pieces from engineering and science and other pieces to explain markets and, to a degree, market theory. But yeah, so if it's compressing up, then you can expect it to open up next. And depending on maybe what your volume profile is looking like and what the heat maps are telling you for where all the orders are stacked, you can get a good idea of, is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Yeah. Okay, questions. Questions from you. If you like this, subscribe. If this is your first time, share this around. Obviously, you see the channel doesn't really get much action anymore. I don't upload consistently, and I'd like to. I want to get back to that. I talked about that last night. I want to get back to doing more and more live streams and doing more and more specific tailored videos, whereas this is more like just a rant, and it's just all off the hip. So if you like this stuff, then show us some support. Give us a little share, give us a little like, give us a comment, because you know that algorithms love that shit. It really is that simple. Or hit the bell notification if you're already subscribed, and boom, what do you know? Next thing we're getting hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of views again. So gold really haven't been looking at lately outside of when we saw that dip down to 1560s, and now it's back up over 1700s, pulled back again, I think. Do I have my gold chart? Let's get rid of Bitcoin. Let's go to gold. Gold FUTs. What am I at? Oh, 1 day. Yeah, so you saw it beautifully worked in this order book supply zone, even though supply zones are kind of made up words. Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize it dipped all the way back down. Has anyone seen what has Peter Schiff's comments been so far today? I can't wait to see those, the Bitcoin comments that the chain link letter has ran out of suckers to be in the chain and is going to go to 0 now. So gold clearly didn't respond well. I'm on a daily, so that's today. Gold hasn't responded well at all, and this will always be the bias that you see. So the gold bugs will say, no, it's suppression, Jay. It's manipulation. JP Morgan holding the largest silver short. They're going to court right now for market manipulation and blah, blah, blah. But that's going on in every market. Okay, so that's going on in everything. There's a JP Morgan suppression happening on every single fucking market. So it's priced in. The manipulation is priced in. So, yeah, clearly what you see is, could it possibly be that people are actually putting cash before gold and definitely before Bitcoin? Yeah, probably. It doesn't have to be a complicated answer. Sometimes it's really simple. It's just that people, they're not ready to accept that as a safe haven place to put their cash. Or maybe they did and they just made $300-400 per ounce because they got in back when we were talking about it at 1280 to 1320, and they fucking sold and they took some profits out. There's nothing wrong with that. What's good holding gold for your lifetime if you can never use it? Just to say what, you're right? I don't know. You want to be right or you want to be fucking happy? Sometimes I don't get it. The bias is just hilarious, man. So, there you have it. Gold back down to 1,600. I mean, that's very volatile for it to drop $100 like that. You don't really see moves like that. So, my guess, if I was a betting man, is that Peter Schiff, if he talks about gold at all, will be more manipulation. And if he talks about Bitcoin, it'll be chain letter, ran out of links, Bitcoin's a scam. You see the narrative? And it's just a coincidence that he sells gold. Wow. Crazy, right? And he runs a fund, which I don't know why anyone would ever invest in his fund. Because he's clearly one-sided, doesn't want to change. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Like it, subscribe, bell notification, share, all of them, some of them. It's up to you. Thanks. See ya. Over and out.